Good morning. We'd like to welcome you to another edition of the Sunday School Review. This week's Sunday School lesson is entitled God's Servant King, and is taken from Ezekiel, the 37th chapter, verses 21 through 28. Now, the book of Ezekiel is written by the prophet Ezekiel, and Ezekiel was both a priest and a prophet. Now, Ezekiel was trained as a priest in Jerusalem. Now, Ezekiel was taken captive and taken into Babylon during the second wave of captives that were taken from Judah, from Israel, down into Babylonian captivity. Now, I said he was taken in the second wave. The captives was taken down into Babylon in three stages. The first wave happened, and then the second wave. Now, Ezekiel was taken down into Babylon during that second wave of captives. Of captive Jews or Israel that were taken into Babylonian captivity. Now, when Ezekiel were taken down into Babylonian captivity, he prophesied. He became a prophet of God while he was in Babylon, and he prophesied there for about 20 years to the exiled Jews. In other words, the Jews that had been taken into Babylonian captivity, Jeremiah prophesied to them. He prophesied judgment, and he also prophesied restoration for the Jews, for Israel. Okay, now in our lesson today, we have two outlines. The first outline is return to the land, and that is Ezekiel, the 37th chapter, verses 21 through 25. Now, this return to the land is referring to the fact that God is going to restore Israel back to their homeland. And in the 37th chapter, the first few verses of that, verses 1 through about 14, Ezekiel is given a vision of a valley of dry bones. Now, the dry bones that Ezekiel saw in this vision represent the whole house of Israel. Okay, as I said, the Israel was taken captive, and at this time, they were captives in Babylon, and they had basically given up hope. Now, God had promised that he would restore them, but at the time that Ezekiel is prophesying to them, they have lost hope. They have given up hope. They are going through a difficult situation. They're going through a difficult situation, and the Lord wanted Ezekiel to prophesy, to speak to these dry bones. And as I said, the dry bones represented Israel condition. They were dry and they were scattered about. And that was the condition that Israel was in. They were disjointed. There was no life there. Okay, so God was requesting that Ezekiel speak to them to give them hope of their restoration. That's why this outline is entitled Return to the Land. So he's giving them encouragement and hope that God have not forgotten them. God will restore. God will keep his promises that he made to them. Okay, so in the first outline, it starts at verse 21. Now, this is after Isaiah is given this vision of this valley that's full of dry bones, which represents the whole house of Israel. That is their condition, okay? And in verse 21, he says, the Lord says, and say to them, that is the dry bones, or Israel, that is the house of Israel, say to them, thus said the Lord God, behold, I will take the children of Israel from among the heathen, whether they be gone, and will gather them on every side and bring them into their own land. Okay, that's verse 21. Now, that is, there are 5 promises that the Lord issues here. And this is the beginning of the first promise. I will take the children from among the heathen, I will, whether they be gone, and will gather them on every side and bring them into their own land. Now, this refers to the return from Babylonian captivity, as well as a future gathering, because the Jews not only were scattered in Babylon or disjointed in Babylon, but the Jews were scattered all over the nation, amongst the nation. And the Lord is saying, I will gather them back. Now, some of this, the gathering from Babylonian captivity will happen, and then the future gathering, okay, will happen much later. Some believe during the millennial period, okay, where the Jews would have been scattered all over the nations, okay. Let's go to verse 22. So the first promise that I will gather them and bring them into their own land. That is the first promise. Okay, second promise, verse 22, I will make them one nation in the land upon the mountain of Israel, and one king shall be king to them all, and they shall be no more 2 nations, neither shall there be divided into 2 kingdoms anymore at all. Okay, now, as you know, the nation of Israel were one nation. They were divided kingdom. And this is, and it's also said, and one king shall be to them all. Now, one king. Now, again, we know that David, okay, was a king after God's own heart. David was a good king, but David was not the perfect king. Now, when he's talking about one king, God promised that there will be one king, and that one king that will rule the nation and be at the head of the nation will be the Messiah. That is referring to Christ, okay? And many scholars believe this will happen during the millennial reign, where Christ will rule during the millennial reign, okay? So the Messiah, Christ, is the original heir of the throne of David, okay? He's the original heir. He's the rightful heir. Okay, David was a good king, but the Messiah, Jesus Christ, is a better king, and he is the rightful heir to sit on the throne of David. So much of this here is Christ reigning on the throne of David, who is the original heir, forever. Okay, and that is still future. That will be when Christ takes the throne of David, and he will rule there forever. Okay, so this is the one nation. This will happen. This will happen. This will happen. This will be a complete, a full restoration. As we talked last week about Israel being restored back from Babylonian captivity. But that is not the final restoration. Okay, that's not the final restoration. Okay, now let's go to verse 23. Okay. Neither shall they defile themselves anymore with their idols, nor with their detestable things, nor with any of their transgression. But I will save them out of all their dwelling place wherein they have sinned, and cleanse them. So shall they be my people, and I will be thy God. And David, my servant, shall be king over them. Now this David, my servant, now we know David at this time is dead. He's not talking about King David. He's talking about the Messiah, who is the original or the rightful heir of the throne of David. And David, my servant, which is the Messiah, will be king over them. He's not talking about King David. He's talking about Jesus Christ, the rightful heir to the throne of David. Okay, and the rest of 24. And they shall walk in my judgments and observe my statutes and do them. Okay, now this here, as I said, is the Lord's promise to Israel. And this lesson here is to believers everywhere that God will keep his promises. He will keep his promises that he has made. In verse 25, and they shall dwell in the land that I have given unto Jacob, my servant, where your father have dwelt, and they shall dwell therein, even they and their children forever, and my servant David shall be their prince forever. My servant David, that is the Messiah, okay, the rightful heir of the throne of David. Okay, so this is what the Lord has promised, and he's going to do this. The Lord's going to do this. So basically, why is he going to do this? He's going to do this. Okay. He said, they shall dwell in the land that I have given unto Jacob, my servant, where your father had dwelt. In other words, he's going to do it because of the unconditional promise he made to Abraham. Okay, he's not going to do this because they are worthy, because they deserve it. God's going to do it because of the promise that he made to Abraham. And he said, I will give you the land. It's going to be yours. That's the promise that I made to Abraham. And I'm going to do it because I have made an unconditional promise to Abraham to give the land to him and his descendants. Okay, now that's our first outline. Our second outline is Ezekiel 26 through 28. And 26 says, and the subhead is permanent sanctuary. Okay, permanent sanctuary. Moreover, I will make a covenant of peace with them. It shall be an everlasting covenant with them, and I will place them and multiply, and I will set my sanctuary in the midst of them forevermore. Okay, let's go to 27. My tabernacle also shall be with them. Yea, I will be their God. They will be my people. 28. And the heathen shall know that I, the Lord, do sanctify Israel, when thy sanctuary shall be in the midst of them forevermore. Okay, so the Lord is going to dwell. As he said, he will dwell among his people forever, permanently. The Lord will make his a tabernacle. He will tabernacle with them. I will be their God, and they shall be my people. And the nation will know this. The nations will witness the fact that the Lord has kept his promise. The Lord will keep his promise. So this lesson here is a testimony or testament to us, to believers, that God will keep his promise. No matter how long the situation with Israel, with the vision that the Lord gave to Ezekiel of the dry bone, that was Israel's condition. They was disjointed, they were dry, they had lost hope. And God no matter how difficult the situation may be, no matter how long it may take or may seem to take, God will keep his promises that he has made. And as I said earlier, it wasn't because of Israel's deserving. It wasn't because of what they had done, but it was because God had made a promise. He had made a covenant with Abraham that I will do this. And we can rest assured that God will keep his promise, no matter how long, no matter what difficult situation or circumstances you find yourself in, as Israel many times found themselves in difficult circumstances. But God was faithful in all of the promises that he has made to them. And God will keep his promise that he has made to us likewise. And that's our lesson today. We'd like to thank you for watching. We ask you to join us next week for another edition of the Sunday School Review. Thank you.